I'm going to show you how you can automate entire PowerPoint presentations using the data in any Microsoft Excel workbook. So over here, I've got an example of one such presentation. And on my title slide here, I have the presentation name. I have the date of the presentation. And then I have a number of other slides which are going to be updated and which are linked to a Microsoft Excel workbook that I'll show you. So on this slide, for example, it shows how many computers, servers, and smartphones and so on that a typical IT group might support. And of course, this data might get updated on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. And then on this slide, I have the typical Engage infographics here, the donut charts. And then on this slide, I have an actual data table. And then this data table over here shows the projected surplus shortfalls for different projects. And then I have a total value here. And then based on this value, I have a text box here which spells out whether we are predicting a $50 million surplus or shortfall or whatnot, but it's based on this total here. So all this data here in this presentation, there's no need to manually update this. This can be automated, and so this is what I'll show you. And let me show you what the data looks like in Excel. So this is what the file in Excel looks like. So this will be a quarterly presentation. So over here, I've got all my data set up. I've got my Q1 data, my Q2 data over here, Q3, and finally my Q4 data. And I've made it easy. Here are the data. In Q4, there's a lot of 4s. In Q3, there's a lot of 3s. In Q2, a lot of 2s. And in Q1, a lot of 1s. And naturally, this is all dummy data. But what you see here in highlighted in blue, these are the cells that are linked to that PowerPoint presentation. And then below, this is what feeds those donut charts. This is what feeds that project summary slide, that data table. And then over here, you can see the projected surplus or shortfall over here. And based on this value, we create a cell with a text string that will feed that text box. And I've got some functions here that does that for me automatically. So for example, if I select Q2, what happens is all this data here will get pulled from the Q2, and I'll just save that. And so this data changes over here, and then this surplus value in this sentence here changes as well. It used to be a $50 million surplus. Now we are projecting a $20 million surplus. So if I go back to my PowerPoint slide, you'll see here if I update this slide. So the way to do that, you just click on Automate and Microsoft Excel. And so I'll show you how to create the links, but first I just want to show you what the updated values look like. So I select the source file. You can have multiple source files, but in this case I just have one. So I'll select this one, and then I'll just click on Reload Values. 1000, 1000. So in about 2 seconds, it's updated the entire presentation. So you'll see the data in this table has been updated. Now we have a $20 million surplus instead of a $50 million. This sentence has changed as well to reflect that. The donut charts have been updated as well. And over here as well, we used to have, I think it was 11,000 computers and 11,000 smartphones and so on. Now there are a lot of 2s because this is Q2 and that was the data. And then over here, even the title and the date has changed as well. So this is how this function works. So if I go back to my Excel spreadsheet, and this time I'll just skip ahead and go to Q4. So I'll save this. In Q4, the title changes obviously to Q4. The date also changes. So we used to have an April 1st. Now it'll be October 1st. The number of computers will also change. So now there'll be a lot of 4s. So over here, you'll see a lot of 4s. And then the donut charts as well, they'll be much, much higher. And then in this quarter, there's an actual shortfall. So the parentheses tell us that this is a negative number. And we are predicting a $30 million shortfall. So instead of the word surplus, now you'll see shortfall. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and close this file. And I'll just go back here and click on Automate. and I'll go back to Microsoft Excel. I'll click on that source file and I'll reload the values. So 1000, 21, okay, and then we're done. So less than 2 seconds, it's updated the entire presentation. And so again, you'll see these donut charts have been updated. The title has been updated as well. Q4, the date has been updated. And this slide, all these PowerPoint shapes have been updated as well. And then finally, if you go to the data table, this is where you see the predicted $30 million shortfall. And then you can see this text box also updated. So now I'm just going to show you how easy it is for you to automate your own presentations. So this works with any PowerPoint object. So if I just go here and I insert a text box down here, perhaps I'll add number of tablets. So I have that, and then what I'll do is I'll just add another text box over here, and in this example I'm just going to say that perhaps there's 30 tablets. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of move this up here, and then what I want to do is this is a number that might change on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. So this is a really good example of something I might want to automate. So what I'll do is I'll click on the Engage tab, I'll click on Automate, and then I'll click on Microsoft Excel. And in this case here, what I'll do is I'll click on this Create a Link button. So I'll click on that, and then this asks me to link a shape. So I'll select this shape, and I'll click on Link Selected Shape. And in this case, I can link to any Microsoft Excel file. So I could click on that Browse button and access the Excel file that way. But in this case, I already have an Excel file linked as a source to this presentation. So I'll just reuse this one, and I'll click Open. So it's opened that file for me. And what I'll do here is I'll just add a number of tablets. And we'll select a different number. We'll put 86 tablets. And what I'll do is over here, this dialog is asking me to pick a cell. So this is the cell I want to select. And then I'll click on this button. And 1000. Okay, so less than 1 second, it's already linked that value. So to show you how it's linked, what I'll do now is I'll show you a shortcut. If I select this file, before clicking reload values, if you click on this little arrow, it'll open the source. So this will open that source. So if I change this to 755 tablets and I save this, I can go back here and then I'll just click on reload values. So 1000, 1000, 1000. Okay, and now we're done. So now you can see that it's updated the entire presentation, and it's updated this PowerPoint shape as well. So that's how automation works. So a couple other things, I'll just show you a couple of their neat features here. So if you want to go back and find the shapes that are linked, so if I go, for example, I'm on slide 4. So it tells me that on this slide, I have 3 shapes that are connected and linked. So this is the first one. So I've got the table. If I click the next arrow, it brings me back, or brings me down to this shape over here. So this text is also linked. And then finally, the third shape that's linked is this one, which we just did just now. And this button here, if I were to click this, it would disconnect that shape. So I can go ahead and do that and disconnect that. So it's just letting me know that's permanent. So whenever I update the presentation, because I've disconnected this shape, this will always stay static. And of course I can reconnect it as well. So I'm just going to show you a couple other things. What happens if you change the name of your Excel file? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just close this Excel file, and I'm going to go back to my desktop here. So if for whatever reason I were to change the name of that file, let's see what the system would do here. So if I click on Automate and I go Microsoft Excel, in this case I would select this file, and if I wanted to reload the values, it wouldn't find that file. It would say that that file under that name doesn't exist anymore. But what I can do here, you'll notice this Change Source button. So if for whatever reason you need to change the name of the file, it doesn't lose all of the link connections that you've made. You just have to change the source. So what I'll do is I'll select this file and I'll click on change source, and then I'll just select it here. So this is the one. So if I double click on that, what it does is it reconnects to this new file. So if I select this file and I open the source, and if I go and I select, for example, Q3, because we haven't done that one yet, and save this, I can go back here and click on reload values, and then it'll reload the values over here. So you'll see that these values here have been updated. The donut charts have been updated. The values on this slide have been updated. And finally, the data on the title slide have been updated. This is an update video for the latest version of the Excel automation feature in Engage. So when you click on the Engage tab and then you click Automate, you'll notice that we separated the Excel automation into two different features. So there's the Excel shape link, which is what we've just covered, and which is what I'll focus on now. And then there's also the Excel slide merge. So the slide merge works a little bit differently, and there's a video on that functionality as well. But the slide merge basically lets you automate multiple slides very quickly by linking the column headers. So what I want to do now is just focus on the new features in this Excel shape link. So when you click on this, it's the same user interface as before. The only difference now is that you can, in addition to linking infographics and shapes to cells with data in them in Excel, you can also link images and also data via an API based on the image file path that you put in Excel and based on the URL path for the API that you also put in Excel. So let me close this and show you how this works. So to link an image, that's where we'll start. What you want to do is just create a shape as a placeholder first. So this is where the image for the city will be. And then I've also got another placeholder here where I'll show an image of an arrow going up based on the change from last period for this overall score, or an arrow pointing down if the change was in that direction. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to minimize this presentation and just show you that folder on my desktop with all these different images. So it's on my desktop. This is the file path. So user Sam desktop city images, and I've got a series of JPEGs here based on the city name. And then I also have some PNGs for those arrows going up or down based on the direction of the overall score. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to minimize this, and I'm going to open up my Excel spreadsheet here. This is what I'll be using to link up and automate this presentation. So I've got different columns of data. In column B, I have all my different cities. In column C, I have the image for that city. Now, what I've done is, instead of just manually typing this out, what I've done is I've concatenated column B and C. So I start off with the path for my image. So I've got desktop, city images, and then I concatenate the name of the city. And then I also concatenate .jpg. So if I change the name of the city in this cell, then this path automatically updates. So this will be the location of the image that I use to show that image on that PowerPoint slide. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's close this Excel spreadsheet, and we'll go back to our presentation. I'll click on Engage, Automate, Excel Shape Link, create a link. So I'll click on that button. And now, instead of linking up an infographic or a shape to a data value, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this shape here, link selected shape, and I'm just going to browse for the source. Results data is the name of the file. And then I'm just going to pick the cell that I want to link up to. So say I want to show the image of Paris, then I will link up this cell C5. So this is the other thing that's new in this feature. Engage wants to know what's the type of data for this cell. So if it's value, what it would return would be a text string. It would actually show the value in that cell C5. It would show desktop / user / sam / the name of the city.jpg. But we don't want to show that value. What we want to do is show the image. So I'm going to click next, and then you have a window asking you the position of that image. So you have a couple options. You can have it top left align, top right, the same width, the same height, or the same size. So let's go ahead and select same size. And then it'll put in that image, and there's the image of Paris. The other way you can link an image is not from a folder location on your computer, but actually a location online. So let's open a browser here with a different photo of Paris. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to grab this URL for this image, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to drop this into that Excel data file here, results data. So let's go ahead and open this. And I'm going to drop it maybe in this cell. And what I can do is just remove the hyperlink here. But here you can see above where we linked earlier, we have a location for that image on a folder on my computer. But this location is different. It's an HTTP address, and it's online. So I'm going to just save this file, and I'm going to close this. And let's go back to our presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Automate, Excel Shape Link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select slide 1 here because I want to highlight all the shapes that are linked up on this slide. So obviously this is the one. And I'm going to disconnect that shape. You don't have to do this step. You can simply overwrite it, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. But now what we're going to do is we're going to link to a shape via instructions location in Excel in this results data file. But instead of it being an image on our computer, it's going to be an image online. So I'm going to create a link. I'm going to select this shape, link selected shape, and now I'm going to open up this source. So I'm going to open up this, and this time I'm going to select this cell C16, and I'm going to pick that cell. And now again, instead of it being a value, I'm going to select image, and Engage is smart enough to determine that this is a URL address with the HTTP. So let's go ahead and click next once we've selected image. And again, we'll have those same options, top left, top right, same width, same height, same size. So I'm just going to select same size, and it'll go into that Excel spreadsheet, this results data. It's going to read that online address, and it's going to go to that web address and pull that image that you've instructed it to. So now we have a new image for Paris. So that's how you can link up a specific image. What makes this feature so powerful is when the image that you want to show is conditional. So let's go ahead and do this example over here. Let's create a link and select this shape, link selected shape. I'm going to use that same source. And in this case, what I've got here is in cell or in column E is the overall score for this period. And then in column F, I have the overall score for last period. So what I've got here is you can see that the score for this city went down. It used to be 69%, now it's 32%. So the image that I want to show is that down.png image. And it's in the same folder on my desktop. But I'm just going to double click here just to show you a bit of the formula and how I did this. Basically, it's the same idea as the earlier formula. I've got a concatenation function. So I've typed out user, SAM, desktop, city images. But then what I've done is I've got an if-then statement. So what I'm showing is that if the value in E5 is greater than the value in F5, which it isn't in this case, I would use the up.png image, which is the arrow going up. But if it's not, if it's down, show the down PNG. And if that's not the case, then there's no change, and then just show the no change.png image. So let's go ahead and select this cell. And then again, this is not a value. This is going to be an image. Now, 99% of the time when you're linking up, you just click OK because you're linking up values. But in the event that you're not and you're linking up images, make sure you select image. So same idea. I'll just pick same size, and then there we go. So now what's nice is as the data changes, you can determine and show which specific image that you want to show. And you can use any image, so any PNG, any JPEG. What I'm going to do now is just show you what this looks like in the image folder. So I'm going to go back to that image folder. So this is it. This is where it's pulling from the images. So I'm going to close this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can also, in addition to linking up values like I showed you earlier, you can also link up values from an API. So let's go here and open the browser. And so for this city, if I wanted to type in the name of the city and get the weather, so for Paris, I would have 11 degrees, a few clouds. This is the API. But what you can do as well is use this feature to link that up to show the weather based on values that aren't specifically in Excel, but the URL is in Excel and it points to an API. So let's go ahead and do an example of this. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a text box here, and I'm just going to call it weather, and right align this. So this is where the weather will be. So let's go ahead and click Engage, Automate, Excel Shape Link, create a link. So I'm going to link this shape here, this text box, link selected shape. I'm going to open up this Excel spreadsheet. And this time, if we go a bit to the left here, this is what the API, the weather API string looks like. So again, what I've done is, just to show you the formula, I've concatenated. So what I've got is I've got the string for the API, so it's weather.markido.com, so on. And then the value that I want to add here at the end is the name of the city. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create this here and select that link. And instead of, again, selecting value, because if I selected value, it would actually show that text string in that cell. But I don't want to show that text string, which was HTTP : / and so on for that API. What I want to show is the value URL, or what I want to do is select the value URL so that the system knows that it's a value URL for an API. And then I'm going to click next. And what it's going to do is it's going to go to the API for that address, which was for the city of Paris, and it's going to return the value, the API value, and it's going to put it right here on my slide. So that is the update to the latest version of Excel Automation Shape Link. Thank you.